Hi, everybody. So this is really exciting. We are here to talk about our latest episode of His Picks, Her Picks, where we pick a genre and then we each pick a film from that genre that the other has not seen, and then we talk about both films, and it's a lot of fun. And my friend Richard is here again to talk about superhero movies.
Hello.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is gonna be fun. We had to kind of dig pretty deep because most of us have seen we have seen most of the superhero movies out there, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a lot of fun. So we're going to talk today about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990 and Hellboy. That will be a lot of fun. So let's start with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So the basic story behind this is it's your origin story, sort of, but it starts out with April O'Neil as a reporter, and she is reporting on kind of gang activity and crime in the city. And there is this gang called the Foot Clan, and she ends up getting saved while doing her reporting by these mysterious figures. It turns out to be these Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo, and they have, of course, their leader and sort of father figure of Splinter, and the Shredder has a backstory that coincides with Splinter that we find out about, and he now is sort of the head of this gang called the Foot Clan. And the Ninja Turtles, along with April, as she continues to investigate, start to look more into Shredder, look more into this gang. There's also this boy named Danny, who is the son of April's boss, basically, that gets kind of involved in the Foot Clan. And so that's kind of your basic story as they try to sort of break up this clan, look into this clan. Of course, Shredder doesn't like that they're doing that. And yeah, so what was your overall... Oh, there's also Casey Jones, too, who is sort of
Vigilante.
That's what I was going to say. And he kind of becomes involved with April. And so what were your overall thoughts on watching this film for the first time?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. I mean, I was a huge fan of the cartoon when I was younger, but I somehow never managed to watch the live action version. And it just had a lot of what I enjoyed about the show, the humor and the action as well. And I really enjoyed the characters of the turtle themselves and the people around them. That was really great.
Yeah, me too. I really enjoy it too. It does have that sort of fun, light moments that you got in the TV show, but then I also think it has some interesting things to sort of say about cults of personality and the attraction of gangs, and sort of creating the way that Shredder, we'll talk more about it, is able to create this sort of family kind of system and this feel for these boys is I think interesting. And I also appreciate the fact that it's an origin story without being annoying. Like I feel like they work that in the origins very seamlessly, and it just doesn't feel like this is an origin story.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, when they do actually, I think it's quite like 20 minutes or so in when they actually explain the origin. It goes by very quickly then.
Yeah.
And whereas at that point we've already seen the turtles for a while. I do really like that, how you actually see them quite early on instead of just kind of lurking in the shadows all the time.
Yeah. I'm hoping that this new Spider-Man will kind of do the same thing, that it'll be a sort of a reboot, but and we'll maybe talk a little bit about that, but just he's just Spider-Man. It's the same thing here. It's like they're just Ninja Turtles from the beginning, and you don't see them like, it doesn't start with them as like normal teenagers and then them getting transformed, and you don't go through all of that. Like, we've seen so many superhero movies where where there is that transformation, I guess, from ordinary to superhero and whatever. And so, yeah, I agree. I think that that's really nice. And I think that they managed to do the kind of damsel in distress, I guess, if you could call April that, pretty well, I think. I think that, she is an empowered enough character, but they definitely do have to rescue her. And I don't know, I feel like they, or a lot of other series, really either make the woman super shrill and super annoying, like a Vicky Vale type, just kind of, or they make her very weak and wimpy and, just kind of hard to relate to. So I feel like it's pretty good here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in some ways, April didn't really stand out that much as a character, I felt, but she definitely wasn't a kind of typical damsel in distress in an annoying sense. She was, I felt she was she actually played a good enough role in the story and actually being able to help the turtles without having to fight alongside them in quite the same way, because obviously she's not quite as physically capable as they are with their ninja skills. And then she does help a lot with her investigating and giving them a place to stay when they have to leave the sewers.
Yeah.
So she does play a good role in the story in that regard.
Right. And she's not just there to sort of be the girlfriend or the sort of the sexual character kind of the movie, like you get with a lot of other superhero movies, and certainly with the recent Ninja Turtles
not like
reboot, not Megan Fox. And so, I think that's really true. I agree. I just enjoy it. I think that it's, it's only 93 minutes, so it doesn't sort of outstay its welcome. I think it holds up pretty darn well.
No, definitely. Even if it was made in 1990, and it's still very enjoyable right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay, let me get my questions up real quick. Does the movie do a good job making the boys, the turtles, unique?
To be honest, I thought that in the movie, Donatello and Michelangelo were a little bit interchangeable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think Donatello is supposed to be the kind of intellectual one. We only get like little hints of that. But he tried to decide what to say at the beginning, like bossa nova, I think he goes.
That's true.
He just thinks it all over, going radical, and they just seem to be kind of the more fun-loving ones, whereas Leonardo's kind of more the kind of more even-based leader, and Raphael's the more aggressive one.
Right. And Michelangelo's sort of the silly one, like, hey, dude, kind of a thing.
Oh, yeah.
But you're right about Donatello. He's not that well developed.
No.
That's true. I think the other three are more. And Raphael is always sort of the most dynamic, I think, of any of the turtles.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that sort of feels the pressure of being a hero, I think, the most out of any of them.
Yeah, I think he kind of gets, in a way, a little bit more focused than even Leonardo does, because he gets this scene early on with Splinter talking about his anger.
Mm.
And a lot of the time you're watching him, like he's the one who reacts when they see that Splinter is gone.
Right.
And then he has that fallout and he gets attacked on the roof, and the thing gets knocked unconscious. So I feel he's actually getting a lot of the focus, even though Leonardo's supposed to be the leader.
That's true. Well, and he's the one that's sort of misunderstood. He's the one that has conflict with Leonardo, and so that makes him probably the most interesting of any of the characters. He has a nice moment with Splinter in there, dealing with his anger, his frustration. So I think that's true.
Yeah, well, he's the one who generates the conflict within the four of them more than any of the others.
Yeah, and I think Michelangelo's just kind of there to be the comic relief of the group, but that's a good point about Donatello.
Yeah.
So what do you think of the puppetry?
I really like that as well. I like it a lot better than the CGI in the reboot.
Agreed.
But it looks more appealing. They kind of look a bit more. They look a bit cartoonish, but that fits the overall sense of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, it feels more like, I mean, it sounds weird to say you relate to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That sounds crazy, but it does make them feel a little more relatable than these huge droided out, I don't know, characters that are harder for me to relate to that kind of character versus a more sort of ordinary design, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's so seamless. It's amazing how they were able to do that with the action and with everything else. I definitely prefer much to the CGI because that just you can do anything with a computer, and so it's just not as compelling. It's not as exciting.
Yeah, it's just taken for granted these days, isn't it? Where this is more unique.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely way more unique.
Yeah.
And I feel like you get more sort of their individual personalities a little bit more when you actually have humans playing the roles.
Yeah, they kind of more genuine movement, even though it's within these suits.
Agreed. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, considering it was made in 1990, which is a long time ago, I think that it still holds up. Whereas if you were to take, I guarantee you, in nearly 30 years, they'll look back at those CGI Ninja Turtles movies and they won't look very good.
Yeah.
You know, there's something about CGI that no matter how well it's done, ages very, very quickly. It just because they keep improving it, because they keep making it better. And so unless you have a great story, like say Toy Story or something like that, then it just doesn't, it's not timeless. Whereas I feel like this is way more timeless.
Yeah, because Toy Story itself looks quite dated now, doesn't it?
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, with puppets, I suppose there's only so far you can go when it's something that actually exists in the real world. Whereas computer generated imagery, you can just keep upgrading it until it reaches a point where it's indistinguishable from reality.
Right.
If you can ever reach that point.
We get closer and closer all the time. I mean, now we've already gotten where they're frequently de-aging people. I mean, it still doesn't look that great, but we're on that path already.
We've had the faces from Rogue One as well, bringing back Peter Cushing and the younger Carrie Fisher. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, that'll only continue to improve. And so it's an interesting thing. But yeah, there's definitely something sort of timeless about the puppets, and I just think it's amazing how seamless they're able to make that action. You think the action would be kind of jerky and wouldn't flow very well with puppets, but to me it flows very well.
Yeah, the action was very good. I felt it was. I mean, sometimes it seemed to get a bit repetitive with the big crowds of ninjas, but I did like it for the most part.
Well, and one thing I liked too about this is that there actually feels like a martial arts film, like as far as the action, whereas in the reboot it just felt like there was hardly any actual ninjaing. There was hardly any fighting in the most recent one. They spent most of the time in vehicles of some kind. And you could even make that kind of complaint about the recent Power Rangers movie, that they're like, whereas I enjoyed the film, but the original show had a lot of more ninja kind of fighting type thing. Whereas in Power Rangers. Whereas in this recent one, it's a lot of times they're in these bots and they're not like fighting, you know, and so I enjoy this.
At each other in that.
Yeah, I enjoy the fighting. I think it's fun.
Yeah, I kind of thought that the fight scene in between Raphael and Casey Jones, where it's kind of really a slow affair where they just had a few different blows to each other with different weapons that Casey's using. You don't see fight scenes like that anymore. It's all very fast paced.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you don't get the idea that the people are really sort of thinking about what they're doing and how they're going to, respond, which is an important part of actual martial arts.
Yeah.
And if you look at the old sort of kung fu movies and stuff like that, then that's totally there. So that's a good point. So what did you think of April? We talked a little bit about it, but of April and Casey.
Yeah. Like I said, I did like April for the most part. She didn't really stand out in some ways. She was a little bit generic sometimes, but she did play a good role in the film.
Mm-hmm.
She's a very likable character. And Casey Jones, I did like it as well. Though we didn't really get that much about what was motivating him. We just when we first see him, he's already become this vigilante with his hockey mask, trying to beat up the criminals that he finds. And then later on, we see him with I think a police radio, listening out for crime. But we don't really hear about why he's actually doing that.
Yeah, that's true. I do think that he and April have pretty good chemistry. For how little that they're on screen together, I think it's pretty good. I buy them as a couple, and I like the way that that's sort of handled. It's not too much, it never distracts from the main story. Yeah. But I did feel like they just had a natural chemistry together, which I liked.
Yeah. It's a little bit Han Solo, Princess Leia, with this kind of ruffian guy and this more refined woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like that April is a character who is, like I said, I think she's a really good example of damsel in distress done well. But she's also a strong woman in the sense of, in the 90s, the kind of characters that you typically had, sort of this working woman, kind of professional woman that was so typical of movies of around 1990. But I feel like she's not really preachy. She's not telling people kind of how to live or that kind of a thing. Like, she seems like a believable person that I can imagine actually existing.
Yeah, I mean, her news report, she's basically just telling it like it is, isn't she?
Yeah, because I don't know, 1990, you had a lot of characters sort of like Claire Huxtable from the Cosby Show. Like that Claire was the perfect mother. She was also an attorney. She could kind of do it all and be this sort of career woman. And that you saw that in a lot of sort of films and TV at that time. This idea, and so anyway, I think she's good. I like her. A lot of people I've read online and stuff really critical of that she's not attractive enough, but I thought she was attractive enough. Like, I don't think everyone needs to be some va-va-voom kind of attractive for a superhero movie.
No, she's So I was going to say I'm not that bothered by her appearance, but she's certainly not ugly.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, okay. So Shredder is a cult gang leader of the Foot Clan, and that makes kids feel like they are family. What did you think of that?
I think it was. I was quite impressed by that. I mean, it kind of feels a bit more relevant in this day and age with like terrorism and radicalization. How young people tend to be radicalized. They get taken into these communities when they're feeling quite isolated and vulnerable, and these communities give them a sense of belonging, and they're able to shape their thoughts in that way.
Yeah, I do too. That's my favorite part of this film. Is this idea of sort of the way that these cult of personalities are able to be created, and the way that Shredder is able to sort of promise these kids things without ever really having to do anything. These sort of vague promises about family and about loyalty and stuff like that. And I think, as a modern example, one of the things I liked about The Dark Knight Rises was I felt like Bane was sort of similar to that in sort of promising people that he's going to protect them and he's going to take care of them, and sort of creating this cult of personality around him, which I kind of thought was interesting.
Yeah, kind of telling them what they want to hear.
Yeah,
giving this sense of liberalization when they're just creating chaos.
Right. Yeah. And I'm going to take care of you. The other people are the bad ones, because they're wanting to break up. They're wanting to make things, to break up this family, to break up. They're wanting to take away this protection, this safety, this whatever.
Yeah.
is kind of how they're able to get you to not only join with them but also hate the other side.
Yeah, and that's how they keep you in this circle where you where you can't really be reasoned with, or it's more difficult to reason with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they give you just enough kind of sweets to sort of draw you in and tantalize you without really giving you any real like substance or any, it's an interesting, very, very interesting thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's effective here. I feel like it makes sense that these teens would be loyal to Shredder, that he would be somebody who would be enticing to these kids.
I was kind of struck that Shredder's not really in the film all that much. It's mostly just his henchmen or the kids that he's using. He doesn't really have that much screen time himself.
Yeah, I mean, the movies for some reason have had a really hard time capturing Shredder. I'm not sure why. But at least here we get a little bit of his backstory and who he is and his relationship to Splinter, which is kind of interesting. And a lot of it is true that it's more sort of, we see the boys kind of reacting to things he says, and the boys is often more the Foot Clan that is fighting versus Shredder that is fighting. That's true.
Yeah. I was going to say, when you brought up Splinter, I was going to see if I could mention it earlier, but I kind of was a bit unsure about how the origin story works in this film, where Splinter is a rat who learns ninjutsu from watching his master. I mean, I know the whole concept is a little bit ridiculous, but I kind of prefer the origin story in the cartoon where Splinter actually was originally a human, a ninja who became rat-like, because I feel it's easier to buy in that way that he had ninja skills and was able to pass them on to the turtles.
I can see that. I think they're just trying. Yeah, I can see him being also being a human. That's true. I forgot that in the series, but yeah, I think they were just trying to explain that Shredder was the sort of the foe of Splinter's master and leader, and so that's where there's this sort of animosity between the two. And I don't know, maybe you didn't really even need that because he's a gang leader. Why do you need more animosity? Yeah. But I don't know. I thought it kind of worked. I mean, like I said, it's a character that's just not been done that well, I don't think. But this is probably the best. Not probably. This is the best that we've gotten, except for maybe the TV show. I don't know. I'd have to go back and watch it. Yeah. But yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, he does still make the most of what screen time he has.
Mm-hmm. At least they don't, like in the reboot, one of the things that annoyed me is Splinter is abducted, he's taken away, and then the movie forgets about him for a long time. And it's like, I think that they would be more worried about him and more worried about what's going on. So that kind of annoyed me in the reboot. I feel like he's actually a little bit of a fleshed out character here, and is not just completely forgot about.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got a presence even when he's been taken away. You see him, and the turtles are often thinking about him.
Yeah, and
I commune with him at one point.
And at least here too, like he is a ninja master. Like he's really great at what he does, as opposed to just sort of being like a yoga instructor. Giving out, deep sayings or whatever. I like that he does actually fight a little bit here.
Yeah.
So, okay. So is Danny a good character or is he annoying?
I thought it was a bit a lot playing, considering I didn't quite I wasn't quite sure about the fact that he was so estranged from his father that he would go and join this gang that Shredder was running. Mm-hmm. Because I was thinking the other boys would be like people who didn't really have any parents at all, and so at least Danny actually had a father who did have some kind of interaction with him. But I did like the kind of arc that he went through in the film, where he kind of realizes the error of his ways quite gradually, and is able to try and redeem himself.
He doesn't annoy me too much. He seems like a classic 80s kind of disgruntled latchkey kid kind of a thing. You know, like I feel like you've seen this in a million movies, this sort of kid.
Yeah.
And so it didn't really bother me too much, but I can see how other people might find him annoying. I get that, but I don't know. He didn't bother me too
Yeah,
much.
I wasn't actively annoyed by him. I just I just sort of had a little bit of difficulty grasping why he felt so strongly about his dad that he was willing to go along with a shredder.
Right. Yeah, they could build that up a little bit better for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
the dad is just kind of the mean boss kind of a character. He's not really built up that much, so.
No. It's quite a short movie, so they don't have that much time with it.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see. What do you think about this movie? We talked about some of the things, but is there anything else that you think this movie gets right that the other versions, even the sequels to this film, that they have not been able to sort of recapture?
Yeah. Well, I think the only other versions I've seen apart from the cartoon were the two recent reboots,
yeah.
the 2014 one and its sequel. And I think there are a few different ways in which this is better than those. There's the special effects are more timeless with the puppets and action, whereas all the CGI and the over the top Michael Bay explosions of the other one, and the turtles don't look as good.
Right.
And I feel this film is able to apply more to all ages, whereas the other films are a little bit more confused. I mean, you get like Michelangelo making these weird comments about April, like how his shell is tightening. Like that. Yes, I mean, I think in this version he shows a bit of attraction to April, but it's kind of more in a childish way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true. I just think the biggest difference is that this one actually has like actual martial arts fighting, like we talked about.
Yeah.
It's actually like more fun. I think the other ones I think could get kind of boring.
Yeah,
and this is just more exciting, I think.
Yeah.
And so, I think that's the biggest difference, and also the CGI, like you said.
Yeah, I didn't actually mind when I saw the sequel to the Art of the Shadows one. I didn't mind it all that much. I liked it better than the first one because the first one was kind of making it more focused on April than the turtles, and feeling the need to link the turtles' backstory to April, which I didn't feel was necessary.
Yeah, I agree with you. I did like the new one better than the first one of the reboot, but it's one that I do appreciate the fact that they tried to make a comic book movie for kids, which I just feel like none of them are made for kids anymore. But there is that kind of off-color humor, like you mentioned. But I don't know. I just felt like it was more kid-friendly, at least. But yeah, I don't know. It's certainly not as good as this, at least. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay, I just have one more question. So, do you think that this is too violent or dark for kids? And because at the time it was kind of heavily criticized for being too violent for kids. The Roger Ebert was pretty critical of it. Other parental groups and other things like that criticized it. And I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think it is too dark or violent. Maybe I was speaking from a modern perspective, but I don't think there's any. I think the most blood I can recall is like Splinter looks a little bit bloody after he's been pushed around by the Foot Clan, and I think the furthest it goes with the swearing is Raphael shouting "damn" a lot. But I really don't think it's too dark for children. I've seen a lot worse.
Yeah, I think so too. That's how I feel, and I don't know. I just don't think kids are that fragile, that maybe some kids you wouldn't want them, but I think most kids these days at least can handle it. And there's one interesting thing that at the time it was criticized for the yellow peril aspects of the film. There's one quote who said, "The story's villainous types are Asian, and the film portrays the yellow peril aspects of this to the hilt." And it's just sort of interesting because I think sometimes these superhero movies can't win. It's like if they do a character like in Doctor Strange, where they don't make them diverse, like Tilda Swinton, with them playing the Master, then they get criticized for whitewashing. and that they're terrible. But if they put in a Asian character, then they're criticized for embracing stereotypes and things like that. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts?
Well, yeah, I feel it is a bit. I feel it is a bit over the top because Shredder we know is originally from Japan, and martial arts is traditionally associated with Asian cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be most believable that the Foot Clan would hail from that kind of culture, and it kind of reminds me of the criticism of Iron Fist, where some people were a bit annoyed because the main character is white and he does martial arts really well. And they felt that was a bit mighty whitey, even though that's how it is in the comics.
Right.
That he was originally this Western white male who came to this Asian community and learned martial arts there.
Yeah, and I think that this movie shows a lot of, I think, respect for ninja and for martial arts in Japan, and there's never anything, I think, that's like sort of insulting or criticizing. I don't think that's founded. At least certainly doesn't bother me. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I would think that somebody that is of Japanese descent could have a lot of fun with this, enjoy like a movie that actually has a little bit of diversity at least. So I don't think that's a problem. So you did have the Roger Ebert. He said the film is nowhere near as bad as it might have been. So high praise there from Roger.
Like turtles, I guess.
But anyway, so yeah, that's sort of my thoughts on the movie. Like, if you were to give it like a 1 to 10, what grade would you give it?
I think I'd give it a 9. Mm-hmm. I thought it was really great.
Yeah, I agree. I really, really enjoyed it too. So cool. All right, so let's talk about Hellboy.
Okay. So shall I give the summary then?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Well, Hellboy starts off in this island in Scotland during World War II, where this doctor there, played by John Hurt, well, he's not played by John Hurt then, but he basically finds this, the Nazis are planning to open a portal to what is basically hell, with Rasputin helping them. And they manage to stop them opening this portal, but a baby demon comes through. And so the doctor takes this demon and raises him, becomes his father, and he grows up to become Hellboy, who works for this paranormal department which investigates and tackles paranormal threats. So Hellboy works there, and his professor father and this new agent called Myers is brought in. There's also this amphibian called Abe Sapien, this woman called Liz, who's a fire starter, and then Rasputin resurfaces and starts creating these hellhounds that wreak a bit of havoc, and he comes up with this plan to use Hellboy to unlock this gate back to hell, which will allow these evil gods to come through and destroy the world. And Hellboy eventually comes down to this battle in Russia, where Hellboy manages to resist, and Rasputin is killed, and the gods are stopped from coming through. And there's this one god is created by Hellboy, defeats it, and he gets together with Liz, and the movie ends there.
Yeah, that's a good summary.
Yeah. So how did you find it?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I guess I assumed when I hadn't seen it, because I thought that, it's Hellboy, it must be a pretty like raunchy movie or something. I thought it was like more adult than it was because of the name. And I mean, I never really, assumed it was rated R. I didn't even think it was PG-13. So I don't know. I just had these wrong assumptions about it, which had stopped me from seeing it. And I liked how it was kind of this mashup of sort of a monster movie with a hero movie too. And I thought that I liked that it wasn't your typical, I don't know, bad man in a suit kind of storyline that you get in so many superhero movies these days, with a sort of villain reveal and all of that. That it I don't know. I liked Hellboy as a character. I thought that he was, I thought Ron Perlman was really good in the role, and it made it sort of engaging. and yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit. I found it a little bit average as superhero movies go.
Hmm.
But I mean, in the story, wasn't really anything spectacular, and the villains weren't that great. But like I said, I did really enjoy Hellboy as a protagonist. It,
Yeah,
it's and the dynamics he has for the characters, and so yeah, it's certainly an entertaining film.
it's not like my favorite movie ever, but I just
Yeah,
thought it was sort of refreshing. It was something
yeah,
different.
definitely, yeah. What kind of struck me is it always seems like if you get bring some kind of like a heaven and hell aspect into it, and the heroes always seem to come from hell. I mean, they got Hellboy, and there's also Spawn, and Marvel has Ghost Rider, and they all seem to come from hell. I can't think of any heroes that come from heaven.
Hmm.
Maybe it's because as people like the idea of the bad guy who turns good.
Interesting. Yeah, I wow, that seems crazy. It seems like there would be
Yeah,
somebody from heaven
yeah, yeah. Maybe
that's a
there's somebody I
super.
don't know about.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not the biggest expert on these characters, but yeah, that is kind of interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that with Ghost Rider and Spawn. You said
Yeah.
Spawn, huh? Interesting.
Have you seen the film of Spawn?
Mm,
No. Yeah,
no,
there
I've
was a
never seen
cartoon.
Ghost Rider either.
No, he was recently in the latest series of Agents of Shield, Ghost Rider.
I heard that. I heard
Yeah,
that was much better than the movie.
yeah, he was. Yeah, it was a different character from the one Nicolas Cage played because there's more than one person who's being Ghost Rider.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, I guess they were able to sort of redeem that character a little bit,
Yeah,
but yeah, huh? That's interesting. I wonder
yeah,
why. I mean, there is something I think appealing about sort of the bad guy that becomes good. There's sort of more. A lot of people think that characters that are good are inherently boring, but I don't think that's true. I think that that's that's just poor writing. Like a lot of
yeah,
that's a criticism you commonly get of Superman
yeah,
is that Superman is boring because he's so good, and so they go out of their way to make him depressed and dark and gritty and
yeah,
whatever. But in and that's in Batman v Superman, you get a lot of language about how Superman is basically God,
mm,
and but in reality, it's just because that the movie doesn't really use his goodness effectively. It
yeah,
doesn't use it to create conflict because if you
mm,
have a character that is inherently good, you have to have him challenged by things so that he has to decide what is good, and
yeah,
that's what makes him interesting.
yeah,
And so, yeah, this obviously very different with Hellboy, where it's a character who's he's kind of a shy character, which is sort of unexpected, I think.
yeah.
He's
Well,
sort of awkward.
well, he's been raised away from humanity, so he doesn't quite know how to interact with people, so he needs this kind of liaison.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of like that. I thought that
Yeah,
he wasn't like big and looming and scary or any of these things. I guess I had a totally wrong idea from the posters and from other things of what this was going to be like, and then I
yeah,
watched it, and it was just really different. And so I don't
yeah.
know.
He does look very shadowy and intimidating on the posters, doesn't he?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
he's definitely more sort of awkward and shy
yeah.
and
Yes.
reserved, quiet.
Yeah, he is a bit gruff as well. So,
Hmm.
yeah, and
Yeah,
and I kind of like his attitude a lot when he hears there's a monster Pandora. He's just like, well, let me go in and say hi. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And I think Abe at one point refers to the whole lonely hero thing. He says he
right.
has. Yeah,
Yeah, like he wants to be sort of accepted a little bit more, but
yeah,
so he's not like an angsty character. He's just kind of shy, I think.
yeah. Yeah, they do actually go into that a bit more in the sequel, where he does actually get exposed to the world, and he still gets treated like a freak by a lot of people.
Mm,
He does find it quite hard to be accepted. And
yeah.
even in this one, I think when he's on I think he's on the subway at one point, and the guy is kind of smashing him in the head, even though Hellboy's trying to help him.
And why did they saw off his horns? They just were trying to make him look more normal, or
Yeah, I think they say that he's trying to look more normal that way. Yeah,
because
so he
that
keeps
must have been
piling it down.
traumatic.
Yeah.
fun, I think.
Yeah. Maybe if he just kept filing them when at an early stage when they were growing. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Yeah. I will say that the makeup on Ron Perlman was really good.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
it. Yeah. I mean,
so good.
some of the CGI in this film is a bit dated, but but his makeup was great. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it just had this sort of old school kind of monster movie feel to it, which I really appreciated. Like most of the fight scenes were against monsters; they weren't against villains, and I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Enjoyed that.
Yeah. And the fact that you have this collection of monsters.
Yeah.
You got Abe and you got Liz the pyrokinetic and Hellboy himself.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the sequel, bringing a sequel again, the sequel has this guy called Johann Kraus, who is actually a ghost who has to walk around inside a suit. And so he looks like kind of an old-fashioned diver.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
I have to watch that because I did like this. So
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I did find the second film a bit more memorable than the first one.
mm.
They're kind of on similar levels, but I did like the second one slightly more.
I've heard that from a lot of people, so I'll have to watch the second one.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
yeah.
So,
Anyway.
yeah. So we talked a little bit about Hellboy, which was going to be our first question. So the next question would have been: do you like the mythology behind the movie? Do you think it could have used a bit more explanation?
No, I don't think so. I think you got enough that you understood what was going on, and I think it had the perfect amount of exposition. I didn't need any more personally.
Yeah. I mean, you just kind of get this sense that there are just monsters. There are various different kinds of monsters all over the place, and they give you a little bit of history about how Hitler actually died in 1958 after becoming this kind of a cult figure with lots of artifacts.
I guess the only thing I wondered about a couple times is like he's very out there, and people see him like there's that circus or carnival or whatever it is that they all see him. He's on the top of that bus. There's so there's quite a bit of it. So in this world, do like normal humans know about Hellboy, or is it like how are they able to keep all of this secret?
I know, I can't think that because it creates the impression that it is supposed to be completely hidden, that the public aren't supposed to know about it.
Because it's not like
on TV and explaining it away.
Yeah, it's not like he has one of those Men in Black wands things, memory forgetters.
Yeah, I did sometimes get kind of Men in Black vibes from it, but but no, it did seem slightly unbelievable. But like I say, in the sequel, he does get properly exposed.
Oh,
so they kind of forget about all that.
So I guess if there had been like just a moment where they kind of explained how they're able to get away with all that, maybe that would have been nice. But I didn't need any more. Personally, I didn't need any more exposition in the movie.
No, it's kind of enough that you can kind of accept the world that they live in.
Yeah, and you can kind of figure things out for yourself, as it kind of goes along. You don't need to kind of be told about everything that happens or how that he got the way that he is. I don't know, because like that's another advantage of having the villains be so simple, just monsters, is that you don't need a lot of exposition about them either. So it's just sort of it's just for Hellboy fighting these monsters.
Okay. So the next question: what did you think of the side characters like Liz and Abe and Myers?
I thought they were all okay. They're all fine. They're not super well developed, and I didn't necessarily think there was all that great of chemistry between Liz and Hellboy, and I don't know. Sometimes the what's his name? The let's see, Myers. Yeah, sometimes Myers I thought was sort of the male equivalent of the damsel in distress. Kind of screaming and needing to be rescued and sort of things like that. So he maybe.
He kind of felt a bit of an audience surrogate. He's the new guy who's been brought into this world and has to learn all about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
So I didn't hate him, but I didn't like love any of these side characters. It was really more Hellboy that I
Yeah.
liked.
Yeah, he's kind of focusing. I do like his relationship with the John Hurt character, Doctor Broom.
Hmm.
His father son relationship they have, and how devastated Hellboy is when he dies.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, John Hurt's
Yeah.
so good, such a good
Oh yeah.
actor
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
helps a lot.
Yeah. I kind of noticed that Abe, the amphibian, he seems to kind of disappear in the third act because he doesn't come along on the last fight out for the climax.
That's true.
He stays in the lab, so he's just kind of forgotten about.
That is true. That yeah. Yeah, he maybe it was slightly a tiny bit distracting to have David Hyde Pierce as his voice, just
Yeah.
because I associate that so much with a particular kind of character and a particular kind of I don't know, I just associate that so much with Frasier and with sort of this nerdy genius kind of character. And I don't know if that was really his character here. And maybe
Yeah.
that's not really that fair of me to do that, but yeah, they do kind of forget about him. You're right.
Yeah. He was he the stick insect in The Bug's Life as well?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, he was. I do like that.
Yeah. And Liz, I thought was all right. She was he just seemed a little bit. She seemed quite a bit broody about her powers. It's just kind of understandable because she has killed a few people by accident. And so but I
It
kind of
was a
wanted her
little
to.
confusing sometimes what her powers were.
Yeah.
Really, even Hellboy sometimes was a little confusing about what is exactly that he can do.
Yeah.
What are exactly his powers?
Well, he seems to have particular strength in his right hand, the right hand of doom, I think it's called.
Yeah.
And he's far higher proof as well because he comes from hell.
Well, and there's times when it seems like there's almost electricity kind of
Hmm.
coming from him, and
Right.
I don't know. You can kind of see
Not too
that,
sure. Yeah.
and
I'm not sure
I'm
about that.
I'm not sure who what are Liz's powers. She's got like that.
Yeah. Basically she can make fire, but just doesn't seem to have any kind of control over it.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like she said, she just basically sets off explosions when she gets stressed.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty small cast for this kind of a movie.
It
It's.
is. Yeah.
I mean, really, it's really only a handful of characters, and even the fight scenes seem pretty small as far as it's usually just Hellboy and maybe one other character and fighting these monsters,
Yeah. Yeah.
as opposed to like a big Avengers kind of thing, with like tons of uh, that compared to a Marvel movie, it felt pretty
Yeah.
small.
Because it seems like Hellboy is the only one who really has a chance against these monsters.
Yeah,
Whereas you get all these anonymous agents who you can kind of predict are going to get killed.
right.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, did you think the movie had the right tone?
Yeah.
Did the tone worked?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like, it's the kind of movie that I think that Tim Burton would have ruined. So I think that Guillermo del Toro does a really good job of keeping it kind of keeping that creepy feel that you get in early Tim Burton films, but still having some humor, but also uh, keeping a humanity, keeping a warmth to it that I think Guillermo del Toro is good at doing.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that he does a good job managing tone in this
Yeah,
movie.
Del Toro, he was the director of Pan's Labyrinth as well, wasn't he?
Yeah,
You can see the
and
similarities.
Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
the similar to Pacific Rim you can really see.
Hmm.
Obviously, that was made after this, but
Yeah. But yeah, I can definitely see the similarities between this and Pan's Labyrinth, particularly the effects and the freakiness.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's a lot darker,
Yeah.
I think, than
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. But I felt he also, I kind of felt there was generally quite a good blend of darkness and a little bit of humor. Like Hellboy provides a lot of the humor with his attitude and that like scene where he goes spying on Liz and Myers.
Yeah, I
And,
agree.
and then sometimes there's something that's a little bit jarring when you go straight back to these dark moments like the professor getting killed.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah,
I think it
but
worked for the most part.
it's just not like I don't know. Like if you compare it to like the current Burton films or the current Zack Snyder films, where it's like sort of darkness for darkness sake, kind of it feels like, or
Yeah.
it's sort of style over substance. Like I feel like this has like I think Del Toro does a much better job than either of those two directors' recent films of sort of making it dark in interesting ways
Yeah.
and making it, but still making it sort of palatable and interesting, and you like
Yeah.
the characters.
Yeah, there is lovely style and substance here. It looks great.
Yeah,
The look kind of fits the subject matter because I don't really know that much about the comics.
right.
And you do. You're right. You do warm to the characters and you do care about them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So did you think the villains were effective?
I could have almost done without the like human or the I could have had just monsters personally, because I don't know, I feel like that those were the most fun scenes and the most enjoyable scenes, and you got like that the one with like the eggs, and that was really creepy, and so I don't know, when it gets to any kind of other villains, it didn't do as much for me as the monsters I liked.
Yeah. The guy in like the clockwork suit, with the kind of makes the clockwork noise as he runs and wears the mask. Did you feel he counted as more of a monster because he wasn't really a properly human character?
Yeah, he was probably more. My favorite were like the more of the sort of the creatures, like the slimy kind of
the hellhounds, I think they're called.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, with the, like they said, with the eggs, that was a creepy moment, and that was more my cup of tea.
Yeah.
For this.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Well, I did think when they used Rasputin, it wasn't really a great villain because there just seemed there's not all that much to him, and it just feels like with Rasputin, there's kind of more potential there, but they just don't give him much screen time. And then there's the fact that he wants to destroy the world, and as in many other films, you think, why do you want to destroy the world?
Right.
Yeah. What do you get out of that?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. He talks about like creating a new Eden, but it's hard to make an Eden out of a wasteland.
Yeah. I could have. Yeah, Rasputin didn't do a whole lot for me. I agree. I agree with what you said.
I mean, it's an interesting idea to use Rasputin because he has these kind of, as a historical figure, he has some kind of dark ideas attached to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, him. But it's just they just didn't really use him enough. But I felt the most interesting of the baddies was, I think his name was Carl Cronin, the guy with the mask. He just comes across as a very dangerous character. I like how you kind of gradually get an idea of what he's like. When I'm first seeing him walking around with these sort of clockwork noises, I kind of wonder if there's any human in there at all. And then you see him with his goggles up, and you can see his eyes are kind of fixed like that.
Well, and this does get pretty close, I think, to an R-rated movie. Like there is a lot of carnage, a lot of people die. They just must have been very careful about the whole blood thing. But he really is pretty menacing. He kills a lot of people. Yeah,
and then eventually you do see his mask off, and you see he's got no eyelids and no lips.
Mm-hmm.
So his face is pretty much expressionless.
Yeah. That was pretty good. I liked him.
He was good.
Yeah, he was good. He was good.
Yeah. So and also the fact that they were trying to bring these sort of gods through, these kind of Cthulhu-looking things, but he didn't really know that much about them either. He just knew there was just this big threat that had to be stopped.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I guess in a movie like this, I think it becomes kind of simple. To me, it's just a superhero fighting monsters, and that's fun to me.
It's not especially ambitious.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And I can see why, because I haven't seen the second movie, but when Guillermo del Toro wanted to do a third Hellboy movie, he was saying that he wanted a budget of like $250 million, and they were saying, you're crazy, we're never going to give you that. But I can kind of see why a little bit. I mean, this had a small budget, $66 million, which is impressive for what they were able to do with that small budget. But I can kind of see why, because I feel like there are parts of this that feel kind of small, and for a third movie, why you'd want to kind of be big, I guess. And
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does feel like kind of in some ways, a bit of a smaller scale than most superhero films these days.
Yeah, like most of it is just in like sort of office buildings or sort of basement, kind of things. Like it's not, there's no sense of like grandeur as far as the visuals, I don't think, in this movie, for a typical Guillermo del Toro movie especially.
Yeah. Looking at Wikipedia right now, you say its budget was $66 million and it made $99.3 million.
Yeah, and I think it did better overseas.
Is that just the US budget?
Maybe not. I don't know. Or maybe it's the second one that did better. You're right. Worldwide total 99 million.
Right, there we go. Yeah, so there's technically a profit. I'm not sure how much the marketing would have cost.
Yeah. But it's almost surprising they got a second one, actually.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so they did get a sequel, but it's a bit of a shame, really, that we haven't had a third one, because the second one does kind of end on, kind of suggesting that there would be another film after that. There is some kind of ongoing story there, so it's a bit of a shame that there wasn't a third one.
Interesting. Yeah, it was kind of interesting for me because I watched this the same week that I rewatched Pacific Rim, and you can definitely get a feeling of sort of the scope of this type of monster movie for Guillermo del Toro and the type of stories that he likes to tell.
Yeah, well, yeah, because Pacific Rim is definitely a monster movie all over, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we've already said a little bit about the action. So is there anything else you'd really say about this film?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
For a comic book movie, which start to feel sort of all the same, and I liked that this felt a little different.
Yeah. What would you give it out of 10 then?
I'd give it and I really did like Ron Perlman. I feel like we haven't really talked about that much, but he was great. He was so funny, and I really felt like this was a part he was kind of born to play.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'd give it I'll give it like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, I'd give it the same. I'd give it a 7.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good movie, but it's not the best superhero movie out there, but it is it is a solid one.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It's a solid, fun, entertaining little movie. It's not like the script isn't that great, and it doesn't have like a visual scope or whatever. Like it's not like especially memorable, but it was an enjoyable film to watch.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know what you think of the sequel when you get around to watching it.
Yeah, I will, definitely. For sure.
The Golden Army, it's called, Hellboy 2.
Yeah. I will, definitely. Well, thanks so much for joining me talk about superhero movies. I think these are two sort of refreshing additions to, I guess, the superhero genre.
Yeah.
So sort of fun to talk about them.
Yeah, because they're both about kind of these freakish heroes that have to hide away from people, don't they?
Right.
So
yeah.
They are different in quite a lot of ways, but they do have that in common.
And they both have sort of a sarcastic sense of humor. I think that's that's sort of nice. Yeah. So cool. Well, this was a lot of fun. So yeah, if you have any ideas on what we could talk about next for his Pixar picks, please put it in the comment section. And where can people find you?
My Twitter is PNE Richard. I have a blog at velociraptor256.wordpress.com. And I also have a YouTube channel, Richard Southworth, with just a few videos on there at the moment.
Yeah, it's awesome. And you can find me at Smiling LDS Girl on social media. And I just posted reviews of Baby Driver and Despicable Me 3. So hopefully you enjoy that. And we'll have a review sometime either Sunday or Monday of the finale of Doctor Who coming up. So that should be a lot of fun with me and Jonathan. And so it's been fun to cover. So, all right. Well, thank you very much. And we will get together next month. for
Okay.
another pick.
Okay, I look forward to it.